What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri zone, and welcome back to another Antonio Conte type of news because it's not going away. It's actually gotten to a situation that the journalists are extremely close to basically asking Tudor in a presser, what do you think about Conte? Basically, it's that close, in terms of the rumors are not going away, and it's not helping. Like Conte is not helping with that situation because he's in a full-on title race, and he's dropping hints that he might be leaving the club. And I want to say it sounds crazy, but it's not crazy because we've seen it in the past. We've seen how Conte left the club, our club, years back, So it wasn't like nothing is a surprise. However, they're in a title race and these talks are out there and nobody is actually brushing them aside. So for that matter, you need to take them seriously. You absolutely need to take them seriously, and you need to consider that at the end of the season or at the start of next season, Conte might be the coach of this club again, which seemed impossible a couple of years ago. Now seems very realistic, not from De Laurentiis' side, but from Elkann's side, because he opened the door to a return that, was closed. The door was closed when Agnelli was in charge for obvious reasons. However, right now, it's actually quote unquote on. So that's what we're going to talk about. Before we do that, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's go. Okay, so like I said, Conte, the news is not going away. I think everybody read the quotes from Conte a couple of days ago where he was saying, I realized that, at Napoli, certain things are not possible to do. Now, you can take that in so many ways. You can look at it and be like, maybe it's because of transfers. Maybe it's because of, his own doing at the club, his perception at the club. But I find it strange because De Laurentiis has been extremely quiet this season, in my opinion, and he's letting Antonio Conte do his job, what he's doing, and actually is working miracle with that Napoli squad, which doesn't have tons of quality. I think even Napoli fans would agree with it. A lot of credit, if not all the credit, needs to go out on Conte. But if you have Conte as a coach of your club, the future is never certain. Even if he's coaching Juve, the future, his future is never certain when, he's coaching a club, because it's an ongoing, I want to call it circus, but like media speculation, and he never shuts down those speculations. Actually, he fuels them. That's the crazy part. He fuels them, but that's who he is. If you bring in Conte as a coach, you bring in everything, the full package, and you like it or you dislike it. But the moment you signed off for it, you cannot complain. And I think everybody knows that. Fans knows that. De Laurentiis knows that. Just anyone following Conte knows that if he complains, you signed up for that. You cannot be like, oh my God, what are you doing right now? Because we all knew that, So would he come back to the club? I don't think that's a question. Would he leave Napoli to come back to the club? I still think that's a question. I don't think that's certain. I'm not saying that he's going to tell, even if he wins the league, when Napoli is going to say, goodbye, I'm leaving, I will actually still be shocked, I wouldn't be shocked if he's open to joining Juve because he wants to come back, and he wanted to come back. However, Agnelli said no. Remember when Nedved agreed terms with him, and Agnelli said, we're not going to do that, and we know why, because the relationship between him, or between the both has not been good. It's quote unquote restored. But the thing is, Agnelli's not here anymore. It's Elkann who's here. And after Giuntoli messed up with Motta, that's the situation right now. He messed up. It's got so bad for Giuntoli that even Elkann stepped in and said, Tudor is going to take over. No Mancini, no this. It's Tudor. And at the end of the season, the guy who's going to decide who's going to coach the club next season is not Giuntoli, it's Elkann. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? From the outside, you don't want the owner who's not really invested in the club to decide who's the coach. Let's be obvious. Like, let's be honest with that. That's not a good thing. What works for Elkann is he doesn't need to know a lot about football because he knows Antonio Conte. He knows his track record. It's like Elkann saying, "I want Pep Guardiola as a coach," and he knows Pep wants to join. You don't need to know a lot about football to know who a good coach is. He's not choosing the next best thing. Nobody really knows, taking a risk. If you bring in Conte, you know who Conte is. So that works for Elkann. What also works for Elkann is, like I said, he already worked for the club, he played for the club, he knows the club, they know each other, so the decision is not a decision that you need to think so hard on and be like, does he fit the club? Does he fit? No, So that goes for Juntali, for Elkann. I don't know how Juntali is taking this. I think he just needs to deal with it. That the next coach is not going to be his decision. He's going to be consulted. And he's going to be talked about. There's going to be talks with him. Included. However, he's not. It's not a situation where it's like, the buck stops with Juntali on this one. The box stops with John Elkann on this one. He's gonna make that decision to appoint the next coach, and the media is so convinced that the next coach, if you need to divide it, let's say if you need to divide it, I think it's 60% that the media thinks it's gonna be Conte, 20% it's gonna be Tudor. He's gonna stay, if he gets top four, and 20% is maybe not even. Let's say it's 70 20 10 70 Conte, 20 it's gonna be Tudor, and 10 it's whatever. It's a guess basically, because right now I don't believe Elkann is sitting there saying, I want Tudor to coach the club next season, even if he gets top four. Is that fair or is that not fair? I'll leave that up to you guys. But Tudor knew what he was signing up for. Everybody knew what Tudor was signing up for. Everybody knows the situation. Like, there's no shock. If Tudor gets top four and he's removed at the end of the season, I think nobody will be shocked, nor should they be shocked. It's Elkann and Elkann only who's going to make that decision. And right now, it feels like the decision is he wants Conte back at the club. If he's going to succeed, who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no. A lot of things can happen and change with Conte, with the club, with everything, with De Laurentiis, letting him go that easily. It's not a simple thing, But for the media, they're not saying it's done, it's easy. They are saying it's Conte. That's the next guy the club Elkann wants. If it's gonna be that way, we just need to wait and see, So just wait and see. But for now, we need to focus on Parma tomorrow. Weird hour to play a game, but it is what it is. We need to beat Parma for the sake of this club, for the sake of not losing the players we absolutely should not be losing, and staying in a situation where we're keeping the players we do not want to keep. That is at risk tomorrow and the next 5 to 6 games. So, anyways, let me know in the comments. Do you think it's smart to bring him back? And actually, do you believe the chances are realistic that we could bring him back and we could see Conte 2.0 next season? Let me know in the comments, and I will speak to you guys tomorrow post game.